Hello and welcome back to the Resilient Kid podcast. Wow. Yes. Have I missed you? Of course, of course. Let me explain why we had such a gap between season 1 and season 2. And that is because I released the book. I wrote the book, and actually the edits of A Parent's Guide to Raising a Resilient Kid were far harder than actually writing it. But because of a fabulous editor that I have, Erin Chamberlain, she just really got the best out of me. So it took quite a while. And I just had to throw all my focus in on that. But I'm glad to say that it's released. You can have a look in the show notes to get your copy. And yeah, we're back. How amazing. I'm back as well, just in time to talk everything around summer holidays. Now, some of you will have been on summer for a little while, and you might be rocking in a corner because you've already had enough and it's barely August. Some of you may be absolutely thriving and loving being off, loving not having that routine of school runs and drop-offs and things like that. So today I really want, because I thought long and hard around what would be a really good first podcast back. And actually, I thought it's the middle of the summer. What about top tips to help you through the summer, and also just to kind of give you that real boost if you are struggling. So these are the kind of things. If you don't know me, I'm Ashley Castello. I'm a psychotherapist of over 25 years, and I work with kids, teens, families, even some adults. But my kind of role and job in life is to really help families get through something that they're struggling with. So let's crack on with the podcast. How is your summer going? Have you settled into some kind of routine that works for you? Or are you at that point where you're wishing the kids were doing less screen time? Are they fighting with each other if they've got siblings? What's going on for you? So let's go through and talk around how we can really tweak summer a little bit, make some put some structure, put a little bit of boundaries in there, and just really help you and the kids thrive this summer. So first question I want to ask you, and actually Dr. Laura Markham from AHA Parenting talks, I've got huge admiration for her. She talks about making a priority for yourselves in the summer. So what would be your priority? Is that to spend more time outside? You know, is it to see more of the family, do a little bit of travel? You know, think about what is your priority and get the kids involved in this. And if you're already halfway through, don't worry. You know, yes, the kids might resist a little bit, but just, you know, over dinner one night, get them around the table, chat to them, talk about what is improving, what's working, what isn't, what can you improve, what would they like to do. So for instance, at the time of recording, we are literally, my eldest has been off already for a good 3 or 4 weeks. And my youngest, it's his last day at school. So what I do is tonight, very traditionally, we will sit round after dinner and we will chat about, give me 3 things you want to do over the summer. And that could be something like my eldest wants to catch a train to go and see her grandmother in Scotland. Now, I might not initially think, oh, do I really want to catch in a train all that way? But actually, I know her older cousin will be going at some point. I can make that happen between the two of them. If I, take a drive for 40 minutes and drop her off at the cousins, drop them off at the train station near there, it is get on, get off. Grandmother will be at the other end. So that's an easy one, for me to be able to make happen. Now, if the younger one puts wanting to go into Disneyland, that's absolutely not going to happen. However, what I might say as a compromise is, well, let's go to a theme park, or let's go to a water park. Absolutely. That's, much easier and much less expensive than Disneyland. So what I kind of get them to do is write 3 things. And 3 things and a priority. So for instance, one of them might say, if we take the eldest one, she might say, yes, she wants to catch the train to her grandmother's. Another one might be spend more time with her friends. Another one might be she wants to go to rugby camp. And then, okay, what's a priority? Now, I already know because I've kind of had tentative conversations with each of my kids individually. And actually their priority is to get out on their bikes more. They've suddenly, at the age of, nearly 16 and 13, discovered their bikes again. And they are loving the freedom it brings and just that being able to go anywhere pretty much on their bike. So that's their priority. So if I can incorporate that in one of the activities, then absolutely I will do. That could be something like, going on a bike ride purposely, or it could be we're going to visit somewhere, let's all go on our bikes if it's, if it's doable distance. So think about what's your priority. Is it, like my kids, getting them out on the bikes? Is it getting them outside? Is it meeting up with family or friends? Or maybe you want to do a bit of traveling. So think about what the priority is, and that will really help when you're making the plans. Does that fit in with your priority, or is that kind of coming away from your priority? So once you've got your priority worked out, what I want you to do is think about boundaries that around time that the children are going to spend. So for instance, if your priority was spending more time or getting the kids to spend more time outside, and maybe you want to say that's going to be every single day, then, and the reason I pick that is because we know the more time children are in nature, the healthier and happier they are. Science is just trying to catch up at the moment around why nature is so good for us. We know ourselves, don't we? If we go out, we always feel better if we've been for a walk, things like that. But science is just catching up now. So we know that it calms down our nervous system. We know that trees release chemicals that really boost our happy hormones, things like that. For me, I'm always a big one. If the kids have had a bit of a meltdown, let's get out for a walk, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, even if it's walking around the block. Sometimes it'll be a case of, well, let's walk to the shop and get a little treat. Or, let's have a purpose if they are resistant. So really, think about what your priorities, and then let's have a look at boundaries. So it could be time on screens. We know that's important for them to relax and for them to chill, but also we know that that can't be too much. And in summer, it is really, really tempting to go, do you know what? Do whatever you want. Take as much time, particularly if we're trying to juggle work as well. But we have to be careful because we know that physically and mentally, they will start to decline. So research is telling us at the moment that for every hour our child spends on screens, their physical and mental capacity will start to decline. Now, I am not saying to you, there is no screen time. Absolutely not. Oh my goodness. And on a rainy day, of course, absolutely. all I'm saying is be aware, because it will compromise their emotional, not only their emotional development, but it will compromise their mood, and that has an impact on their behavior. So think about doing something like, a limited amount of time on screens. One of the other things, so how I set up my kids is I say every day during the summer, you have to read, even if it's only half an hour. So, pick a book. And what I would say about reading, the reason that I say this, it's not for them to have homework. It is to get them excited about reading, to fire up their imagination. So I'm not saying, go and get kind of Midsummer's Night's Dream, Shakespeare, or go and get, War and Peace or anything like that. Get them to pick something. So for instance, my son is just starting to get into, is it the Dragon Slayer, the manga books? And that's been really cool for him, because anybody who doesn't know manga books, what happens is it's lots of cartoons, lots of really cool drawings and stuff. They're not for everybody, I would say they'd want to be kind of, high school to read them, but they read them backwards as well, which is really cool, because that also helps with brain development and brain integration. My eldest is into kind of murder mysteries. She's just read the Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osmond, and she's reading that series over the summer. That's kind of her plan. So every day they're going to, read for half an hour. They're also going to do a little bit of work every day. Now, before I move on to that, if your child is younger and they are thinking about, you're thinking, how do I get them to be excited about reading? Well, what I would do is start off. So my nephew really struggled with reading at the beginning, and so did my son, actually. And what we did was we got him the Beano comic every week, and that just really fired him up. It was funny, it was light, it wasn't too heavy. So think of stuff like that. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, that again, light, cartoony, funny things that will really help them get an interest before you go. And also, it's the summer, it shouldn't be homework, it should be around, that love of reading. So for sure, let them have a choice in it. But just, even if it's just half an hour, even if it is just as they wake up in the morning, it's really early, okay, well, read for a little bit and then come down. So reading for me is a necessity. They have to read every day. If we're not doing anything, like, I'm not really strict with this, right? You're not leaving the house till you've read. Just if they're not doing anything that day, if we're not going out somewhere, then absolutely they'll read. They then also have a little bit of work, as in they might go on BBC Bitesize and do something. So for instance, my eldest is going up to do A-levels in September, and she's doing law and psychology, subjects that she's never done before. And so she is going on YouTube and she's just looking at the different subjects that there are in it, just reading round, looking at videos. Is it called Primrose Kitten, I think? Yeah, it might be. Primrose Kitten does a lot of subjects and just talks about them in a way. It's not teachery, and it's just getting him used to, for her, the new vocabulary that they're using, but also keeping the reason that I do this, and this is not strict, I don't do this every day, but if they're home and not doing anything, then they absolutely do some. And the reason that I do this is because I found that up until when they return to school in September, up until Christmas, it really takes them a long time to get back into the swing of work, homework, learning, things like that. So, I will say, either pick a subject, go on BBC Bitesize, because they'll tell you their age which is brilliant. And they'll give you ideas of what they're going to learn. So it might be they're recapping. It doesn't matter if they're watching horrible histories. It is still keeping their brain alive, keeping those parts of the brain that is learning. And I'd say mine probably do it 3 or 4 times a week. And not for hours. I mean, my God, no, 30 minutes is fine. You know, if they're into it and they carry on, amazing. But it is really keeping that brain oiled, ready for September. There's no homework, there's no, you know, they won't necessarily be taking notes or writing. They might do a quiz, but really light, easy, fun ways to look at some subjects in, just in a different way, I guess. So, and then the third thing that I kind of do, so the first one would be reading, second one would be just touching on new subjects or touching, recapping on old ones. And that can be something like Duolingo if they're learning a language. And then the third thing I do is I get them to help out around the house. Now, anybody who's heard me knows I'm massive for kids into chores. Does it always work? Absolutely not. Getting them into a regular routine really, really helps though. And there's lots of reasons why I do this. It's to help them be more responsible. It's to help around the house, absolutely, because I'm still working, hubby's still working. I work a lot less in the summer, but I am still working. But also as well, it gives them that sense of confidence when they master something new. It gives them this sense of responsibility. So as an example, if my youngest would probably be the messiest around the house. So he might come down this morning and he thinks, oh, I want a bagel. So he would absolutely cut a bagel on the side in the kitchen, not on the chopping board that's there already, not on a plate that's just in the cupboard above his head, but on the side probably. And there'll be all crumbs, there'll be the knife left there, he'll probably get the butter dish out, there'll be a knife left there as well, there'll probably be butter and crumbs all over the worktop. Now, that is pretty standard for him. And, he is 13-year-old boy, why not? However, if I always get him to clean it up, but actually what I've noticed is if I give him chores that I think might impact him, so for instance, if I get him to, put the pots away, empty the dishwasher, wipe around the surfaces of the kitchen, he's less likely to do that. If I get the elder one to put some washing in, take it out, pop it on the line, the washing, that pile, the laundry pile that might start stacking in her room is less, because actually what we're doing is bringing it into their consciousness about having to clean up after themselves, also having to clean up after others, us having to clean up after them. So that really helps with that. Now, I think one more reason, and one of the biggest reasons for me, is that when a child helps out with tasks or jobs or chores, whatever you want to call them at home, it really helps them feel needed, feel like they belong in that family unit. I have had lots of clients, little clients, I say little, teens, over the years who suddenly get to the end of school or college and not sure where they fit in. They not quite found their tribe. They start to think, well, what's the point of doing this homework? What's the point of doing coursework? Things like that. And actually, when I've asked the parents, do they help around the house? They're like, what? What's that got to do with anything? And it's because it really creates a sense of belonging for them, and that they're needed and that their place is here. I often, in the book, I talk about claiming our kids, as in, you belong here. This is your home. It'll be your home for as long as you need it. Even if you go away, come back, you'll always have a place here. But actually having a useful place, having a place where they're needed, where they have some responsibility, and also the confidence of not only those skills, those life skills that they'll have if they, move out or go to uni, things like that. And having that really helps them have pride in something that they do and understand the rewards and the feelings that come with being able to do something and do something well. Now, do they always do it to our standard? Absolutely not. However, they will improve. They will improve. We have like a little list of jobs, and the kids will pick one off the list. So, for instance, my eldest, she's quite happy to do the bathrooms. I spent probably an hour going over the bathrooms the other day, and that's through no fault of hers at all. The reason that I did it was because she'd cleaned the sink, she'd cleaned the toilet, she'd cleaned the floor, she'd kind of cleaned the shower, but actually when I pulled up the plug and all that, and she's got really long hair, so you can imagine, I don't need to describe that to you. So, but what I did was, I just told her, I shown her, I did it, never told her, did it, then shown her how cool it looked now. And she was like, oh yeah, I can see the difference. Okay. And then just walked her through it. So next time she does it, she'll be able to do it herself. So yeah, chores are important for like a million reasons for kids. It's really, and I know sometimes it's a case of, oh, I don't want to do that. None of us want to do it. But what I would say is really think around talking about contributing to the family. So for instance, if they want to go to rugby or they want to be dropped off at the swimming pool or the cinema with friends, okay, well, I need you to be able to help out today so I can do that. So when you've emptied the dishwasher, then your time's free. Or, when you've walked the dog or put in some washing laundry in the washing machine or hung it out for me, then you can go and meet up with friends. So I always use a when and then, because they then realize that actually by doing something, by doing the job, then they can go off and do their own. But actually it's also about when they contribute, you are then contributing to them. So I hope that makes sense. The other thing that I would say to you is think about creating a routine. So if I know that we're going to be home for most of the day because I'm, on and off Zoom or in and out with clients, then I will we'll make a little bit of a schedule. So it might be, right, up at this time, have your breakfast, chill out for a little bit, do reading, do this job, and then you have got kind of 2 hours to do something that of their choice. So that might be screens, that might be baking, whatever. But then I get them to do something physical as well. So it could be, go on a bike ride. It could be baking. It could be, drawing, but without screens. So there's a definite time for screen time and a definite without. And actually doing that really helps them. It helps them feel safe. Routines are massive for children to feel safe, to feel secure. And when we do that, it stops them worrying about the unknown. It stops them because, constantly things are happening. And that's why, school routine is done in a certain way. It's because it really helps them feel more secure. So I'm not saying don't free ride all the way through summer. You absolutely can if that works for you. I have found that there is less squabbling between them. They're happier and they feel more confident in what they're doing when they have got a little routine. And that can be a routine that they've worked out themselves. You don't have to sit and do this. Get them to do it. You know, at dinner, okay, what's everybody got on tomorrow? Okay, when you're going to fit in reading, what else are you doing? Okay, brilliant. Just so everybody knows. So yeah, absolutely. If you can create schedule a little routine just to really cement it, and so that the kids know what they're doing, and you're not getting that constant I am bored. Now, I do always try and, if they're talking about that, I call it free time, but that's not screen time. So allow them to get bored. It's really important that they do, because you'll find they'll start to do something they've not thought of. If I let them have free rein all day, chances are the eldest would binge a box set and the youngest would be on his PlayStation most of the day. And they get really ratty with each other. There is no thoughts of when they get themselves lunch, if we're not all lunching together. There's no thoughts of each other. There's no thoughts of helping out. Whereas if I say, okay, this is what you're up to. Let's have a look at how you can spend your day tomorrow. So for instance, last day for the youngest, but the eldest has been off. So at the moment, what she's doing is, she will have a little bit of a lie in, but I will say to her, okay, up by kind of 9-ish. She will come down, she'll get breakfast, she will have, she'll read for a little bit, and then she usually does a job around the house. Yesterday it was the washing, amazing. And then she will watch a video on law. At the moment, she's looking at all the definitions and stuff, and that she's not making notes. She's just literally letting it go in. And she probably does an hour, if that. She then does a little bit of work for me. So she does what we call teen VA. So she did all my mileage. The other week, she did some data inputting for me. She might do some social media posts, that kind of thing. And that's her way of earning money as well. Then she'll watch something and then she'll go out on a bike. So I might have some errands. I know today she's going to the jewelry shop to get a necklace of mine repaired and a hip flask of her dad's polished. That's probably not even half a mile away, but she'll jump on a bike, she'll go there, and that's her kind of responsibility for the day. Yesterday, I think she went to the post office for us. So yeah, and she'll be chatting to friends. She'll meet up. I think she's meeting up with one of her friends tonight. And actually, because she wants to go on a bike more, what she's arranged to do is one of her rugby friends, and she's seen them last night. She's arranged to meet them at the local golf course, and they've got a Crazy Golf that's just opened, and that's what they're going to do. So, cool, because her priority for the summer was to go on a bike more. She's thinking kind of logistically on how do I do that. Now, normally we would have drove her, but actually it won't take her 10 minutes. So she can drive. She can't drive. She can go on a bike. So they're the kind of things that I would be looking at. The other thing, and the reason that I'm suggesting all of these to you is because behavior is much more improved. If you have got that routine, if you have got something that is not on screen time as much, if they have an appreciation and help out around the house, all these kind of things are to help so that their behavior doesn't just spiral into snapping at you and arguing with each other or going, I'm bored. So that's why I wanted to kind of talk about these. And then there's just a little kind of bonus thing, and this might be too much because sometimes, you know, capacity wise, if you're juggling work, if you're juggling you know, looking after parents, or you're trying to work out travel, things like that, then stop the podcast here. Stop the podcast here. However, if it is that you're up for it and you think, yeah, this will be good, then think about having a little bit of a challenge. So get them to think around what it is they want. That could be something like learning to be a little bit more independent. So that might be calling around to their friend's house on their own. It could be trying new foods. Excuse me. It could be things like learning to grow, you know, herbs in the garden. It could be trying, you know, to bake a new cake, anything like that, but a challenge that they're going to look at and at the end of summer say, I did that. I absolutely did that. So my challenge this summer is to run, you know, almost every day. And that's actually set me up because I will run first thing in the morning. I will get back and that's tick, mine's done. Now, I can't always do it every day, depending on what time I'm starting work and things like that. But that's my challenge done. The kids see me doing that challenge. They are creating their challenges at the moment. One of them is doing different types of baking, which is absolutely fine. And obviously side effect, lovely cakes or biscuits or whatever they're doing. And the youngest one is doing much more drawing. He's kind of fell out of love with drawing. I think it's just the way that it's been taught at the moment. Last year, he absolutely loved it with the teacher he had. He's changed teachers this year. Doesn't feel good enough. And actually, he's way better than most of us in the house. So actually, and he's definitely better than me. And so I want him to be drawing things that he wants to enjoy drawing and just have a little bit of love for that rather than, you know, being bogged down of whether it's good or not. Doesn't matter. It's art. So yeah, they're the kind of challenges that they've set themselves. And why that's good is because in that time, in that free time that isn't screen time, they can do something like that. And actually they've got a default setting. You don't have to do the challenge. Absolutely not. You don't have to do the challenge. And what I would say is it's really important that kids have that board so they go and look for something to do without your input. If you are worried about your kids getting bored and them mithering the life out of you because I'm bored, I don't know what to do, sit down and get them to write a list of the kind of things that if they're bored, I call it I'm bored list. And I will do you a example one in the show notes. And what you do is get them, okay, if you were bored, what kind of things could you do? So that might be Lego, it might be baking, it might be read a book, it might be take the dog for a walk, do a jigsaw, watch a BBC Bite Size. You can imagine the list goes on and on. Tidy your room. I always like that. Yeah, so get them to have a little list and stick it up somewhere, stick it on the fridge, stick it in a cupboard, wherever. And then when they come and say, I'm bored, say, well, go and look at your list. You know, if they can't come up with it themselves, and actually what you'll find is that might be a go-to initially, but after that, they'll start to come up with different things in their imagination. They'll play more. I find my teens start to do jigsaws and Lego, which, you know, you would think they were too old. We have, at the end of our table, we have a jigsaw. And so whenever somebody's walking past, they might just take 5 minutes to just sit and do some, and that's brilliant. You know, for them, it's really good for their mindfulness, just to help them focus on one thing at one time. So, yeah, and we do that. That's all of us. We started that during Erin's exams, and we've just continued it, and that's been brilliant. Okay, so I hope those tips have really helped. For me, it's around, summer is around you guys and your kids, me and my kids, reconnecting, making memories. We have got a little trip to Wales, and our plan is to go kind of swimming in the sea, take the kayak out, do some water sports, making memories. We've also got trips with some friends. We're going to go to London to see a show just for the day, but with friends. So we're really making those memories, but also, you know, just going for a walk after dinner and having that chit chat side by side. So I hope the tips I've given you today will really help, and that they will help you thrive, so you're not pulling your hair out, help your kids thrive. And I hope you've enjoyed coming back to the podcast. And this is the start of many. The plan is to have me talking, giving you top tips like this, and then also have a guest on for various different reasons. And we've got some great guests coming up. In the show notes, there'll be a transcript. You can catch this on YouTube if you want the video. Audio will be on the podcast here, and you can catch that on any podcast provider, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Anchor, any of them, you'll be able to catch this. And then there'll also be a transcript as well if you would rather read through. But I'll put the top tips there for you. I'll also put links to my socials. But if you have a question that you want answered, absolutely send it in. Send me a message at either ashley@theresilientkid.co.uk and put podcast as your subtitle, or comment below, and I will absolutely pick that up and answer it for you. Have an amazing summer. Keep listening to the podcast. Go out, buy the book if you haven't. And yeah, sending you lots of love. It's great to be back, and I will speak to you all soon.